Hey Mallards, it is Wednesday, which you know means it's time to talk about Loki. That episode, wow, what a roller coaster ride I just went on. From beginning to end, I feel like it was just hit after hit after hit after hit, and it went very quickly. But there are a few things that are incredibly important to address. The most important being Lady Sif, who I said was the character that I was voting on as the one I wanted to see, and also I thought was most likely to appear. Boom, there she is. Seriously underutilized. And you know, somebody's gonna come back and pop up, and that's who I wanted and that's who I got, and I'm very, very happy about it. I'm actually very pleased. Even if her scene wasn't that interesting, it was just fun to see her. Man, dear Lady Sif, did you make it out of Ragnarok? Inquiring minds want to know. And then it was just interesting to watch the TVA sort of fall apart. And things that we had suspected seem to really be coming to fruition. Like, for example, well, sort of, I thought that the timekeepers were dead. Turns out they're robots. Now that whole, testing to see if you're a robot thing makes a lot more sense. I had started thinking that we were probably going to see what happens to people once they're pruned. So Loki getting pruned, less of a surprise to me. I figured it had to happen eventually because the TVA essentially goes to these places where variation has occurred. They pick up the variant that caused the Nexus event and take them away, and then they wipe out the entire rest of the timeline by setting out this bomb, right? And I, from the very beginning, found that weird because why would you bother to take the variant out? Why not just just show up, set off your little bomb that wipes out the timeline? So then what's the deal? And is it because if you don't remove the variant, that same sort of thing happens again? Could be. But that led me to believe that perhaps pruning is slightly different and does something else. Because if you were just going to destroy them like you did everything else in the timeline, why not set off the bomb? Like, why take them? And part of that, I think, is because obviously variants sometimes become agents of the TVA. If they don't get pruned, or maybe you get pruned and then that's how you start to lose your memories and then become an agent of the TVA. I don't know. I have no idea, but I know that we're going to find out because Loki's been pruned, and the end credits, mid credits, I don't know how you want to qualify that bit, showed me a lot of other Lokis, which is really exciting. Wow, so many Lokis. We need more Lokis. I mean, that's the beauty of something that was supposed to have other universes and variants, is that I could get a bunch of fun Lokis, and I've just been waiting for it. I also want to know what Sylvie's Nexus event was, because she asked about it and then got denied, but we all knew that that was a lie. Absolutely a lie. Everybody knows what her Nexus event is, clearly, like they must. And so the fact that she asked about it means that it's important and we're probably going to learn about it. But I am really curious because I had thought that perhaps just her being female was the issue. But clearly she lived for a long time before she varied enough to mess up the sacred timeline. And then we're back on that whole, are there multiple sacred timeline things? Because I'm not, maybe only one Loki makes it all the way. So in the beginning, there are a bunch of Lokis, and then they each veer off, here, nope, sorry, that timeline got wiped. Here, nope, that timeline got wiped. So a million of them start out, but only one makes it all the way to the end of the sacred timeline because all of these dip too much variation, and so they wipe them out. But they don't get wiped out until they vary, and so maybe it takes them a long time to listen, time travel already obviously confusing, multiverses even more confusing. I'm not sure you can logic your way out of this one. Sometimes you just have to sit back, relax and think this is a comic book. Although I'm not really capable of doing that, so I've been thinking really intently about how this works. And I think that there must be a sacred timeline, but one of the things that they discuss early on is that the timekeepers haven't decided how the sacred timeline ends, right? They don't have a finish yet because, I don't know, maybe the Marvel writers haven't decided if they want the MCU to end literally ever yet. So they don't have a finish to the sacred timeline. So I think that there are many universes, and the variations that happen in them happen at different times, right? So there are a billion of them and they all start the same way, and then little variations happen that mean that they have wiped out those timelines. But when you're in the TVA, all timelines exist at once, right? So they all exist, and also none of them confusing. Anyway, so they all exist, so they could collect things from every timeline like the Infinity Stones, and then they wipe them out, but they don't get wiped out until that moment in time. So if you don't deviate, so somebody deviates in 1980, then that timeline gets wiped in 1980 when the deviation happens. But if you travel back to 1970, it still exists. Same, this deviation doesn't happen until 2000, so this timeline gets wiped in 2000 and doesn't exist forward from there, but does exist previous to that all the way back to the beginning, and so on and so forth as each deviation happens. So, you know, if we make small numbers to make more sense, there are 5 timelines to start. Well, 6. We've seen 6 Lokis, right? Because I think there are 4 of them waiting for him, and he's 5 and Sylvie's 6. So there are 6 timelines to start, and they each have been wiped out at different points in time. 7 timelines. And then the only one that's still going is the one where Loki dies at Thanos' hand. Like, that one, that singular line where all of this happens is still going, even though all of the other branches have thus far. And actually, maybe there are several still going that like wind up that way with Loki being killed by Thanos, and they're just like waiting for those to also deviate enough that they have to get wiped out. That's my working scientific theory about how all of this plays out. And we know that they haven't decided on the ending, which means there are probably still several timelines that go all the way out to the eventual heat death of the universe, but they haven't decided how the universe should end according to their sacred timeline. So if you go out this far, there are a lot of possibilities still that haven't been pruned. So I'm intrigued to see how they deal with that. And I am interested to see if Mobius, who's also been pruned, shows up in this world, or if this is something specific to Loki, something one of them did with their magic or something like that. I think it could go either way, and I think I will be pleased with either one, although I will be a little bit sad to see Owen Wilson go. But it would still be intriguing to me if this is a Loki-only universe. Overall, this show is really fun. I think that it's fun to watch Loki develop as a character. I don't know how I feel about this whole implied romance between Loki and Sylvie, mostly because they're literally variants of each other, and because I feel like it's more camaraderie and like mutual respect and friendship than romance, and like you can care about somebody, like they're like siblings, like twins. Maybe it's a twin thing rather than romance. Plus, like, I have enjoyed personally, just for me, the idea that Loki's mostly an aromantic character, because if I look at the Marvel universe and where they've tried desperately to shove romance, Loki's pretty much all I've got. Let's see. Has anyone else been not romantic? Sam Wilson technically hasn't tried to romance anybody that I can think of. Hold on, I'm thinking. Yeah, so Sam Wilson hasn't tried to romance anyone, although I'm gonna admit that even though I am not a person who ships Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, they have some moments in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Also, Rhodey hasn't romanced anyone, but we don't spend enough time with Rhodey to even have any idea if he could have a Hawkeye secret family, and I would literally never know. And I think that's it. Maybe Maria Hill. Yeah, I don't know. It's just unfortunate that they tried to build this, like, I don't think it's romance. I don't think it's romance. I'm gonna throw it out there. I think it's a twins thing. It's a variance thing. They are connected because they are the same, but it's not romantic because I still want Loki to be aromantic. He can be a bisexual aromantic. I think that's totally fine. Bisexual aromantic icon. That's all I want. But it is fun. This entire show is really intriguing to me. I like the way it's building the world. I like the differences it's adding and how it's widening the scope of the Marvel Universe. And I'm excited to see what sort of disaster comes from the last few episodes. I'll see you tomorrow.